Mom's text came in the family group chat with 3 emojis: shallow pan of food, wine glass, candle, and the words, family dinner. Bring the ones you love. Saturday, 6 p.m. No excuses. Layla replied with a row of hearts and a selfie of her and Andre holding a bottle of sparkling grape juice like it was a trophy. Caleb sent a thumbs up, then a gif of a man straightening his tie. Dad reacted with a checkmark, as if confirming a board meeting. Me. I stared at the screen, then at Maya, stretched across my couch in a sunshine yellow hoodie, reading her poetry collection aloud between sips of ginger tea. Family dinner? She asked, reading my face. They want us to come, I said. My brother is bringing his fiancée. Layla and Andre will be there. She sat up, eyes bright and nervous. You ready for that? I'm ready if you are. I tried to sound lighter than the weight in my chest. Maya smiled, kissed my knuckles, and said, let's go be loved in public. I didn't know then that love could be both public and on trial in the same hour. I didn't know how quickly a room can turn from safe to courtroom, from laughter to witness stand. I only knew I wanted the Carter home to meet the future I'd prayed for, this woman with steady eyes and a habit of humming when she cooks. I typed, we'll be there, and hit send. The message delivered. So did fate. Our parents' house still smelled like Sunday mornings. Cinnamon, furniture polish, a whisper of Dad's aftershave. The living room had the same white brick fireplace Grandma Ruth used to sit beside, telling us stories of the South Side and the long road that brought her to that very house. The year was 2025, but it could have been any year. Family photos lined the hallway like a museum of survival. Graduation caps, first apartments, one bad 90s hair phase we never let Mom forget. We pulled into the driveway, a dusky December sky bruised purple overhead. I checked my reflection in the visor mirror, adjusting my tie like I was auditioning for a future I had always believed I could live. Maya touched my shoulder. We're good, she said. Inside, laughter traveled before voices did. Layla's cackle. Andre's bass. Mom's high, delighted squeal. We stepped in and it felt like walking into a warm song. Caleb was already there, standing by the kitchen island in a midnight suit, his fiancée, Ariel, beside him in an emerald dress like she had swallowed a jeweled flame. Look at you two. Mom rushed over, hugging me, then pulling Maya into her orbit. My daughter in love. Maya melted into her arms like it was home she'd been carrying in pieces. Dad came behind with that smile he saves for good news. My son, he said, gripping my shoulder. And Maya. Welcome. We sat. We breathed. We didn't see the storm cloud forming on the horizon of the meal. The table was set like an altar. Candles flickered. Plates glowed. Mom's macaroni announced itself the way a choir does, loud and holy. There were sweet potatoes, baked salmon with lemon slices like little gold moons, roasted Brussels sprouts, cornbread, collard greens. The good napkins were out. The ones nobody was allowed to use unless the night meant something. To family, Dad said, lifting his glass of sparkling juice. To our children bringing their futures back home. A chorus of cheers rose. Layla squeezed my hand under the table. Look at us grown, she whispered. Andre winked. Ariel smiled. Caleb watched me with that half-smirk he inherited from curiosity. So, Mom said, eyes traveling between the women at the table. Tell me how he proposed. Maya glanced at me. I nodded. On the Beltline, she said. Right where the murals dip under the bridge. He brought a blanket and candles, little ones in jars, and a playlist that started with Stevie Wonder and ended with Asha. Asha. Mom clapped. You know I love that woman. Maya's smile rose soft as steam. It was quiet. He read a letter. He said he wanted to build a life where we choose kindness when silence feels easier. Layla fanned her face. Okay, poet. Ariel leaned in, excited. That's beautiful. Caleb was quiet, an expression I hadn't seen on him before crowding his features. He lifted his glass, tapped it with his fork. Everyone looked. The air paused. To my brother, Caleb said, voice steady but eyes elsewhere. Always the romantic. He smiled, but it didn't reach full power. And to your fiancée. Maya, radiant, nodded. Thank you. Caleb set his glass down and, as if a switch flipped, his gaze hardened. Wild though, small world. The room shifted a hair's breadth. Layla's laughter slowed. Mom's eyebrows turned into question marks. Dad's jaw tightened like he could sense a train coming. Caleb, Dad warned, gentle. What? Caleb shrugged, but the shrug was a performance. We all grown. We telling love stories. He looked at Maya then. Tell them ours. The fork fell from my hand with a clatter that felt like a soundtrack. My chest went cold. Caleb, I said. He didn't look at me. He was looking at her. Maya's throat moved like swallowing stones. It's true, she said, voice barely above candlelight. We dated a while back. A long while. How long? Mom's voice was thin, fragile glass. Years, Maya said. 4 years ago. For 3 months. 3 months. Ariel asked, surprised. That's less than a season, Layla said, trying to stitch the room back together. Caleb's laugh was a sharp thing. Less than a season to you. For me. It was the winter I forgot how to breathe. Silence welled up heavy. Caleb pushed back from the table, stood, paced behind his chair like words needed room to move through him. I was 28, he said. Just got laid off. Landlord mad. Car coughing like it had secrets. You remember, Dad, how we spoke in the garage so Mom wouldn't hear. Then I met Maya at a gallery night. She was quoting Gwendolyn Brooks to a painting like the canvas could answer back. I thought that was the bravest thing I'd ever seen. Maya blinked, breathing shallow. You were kind, Caleb continued, voice gentler now. And I was breaking. I didn't know it was depression then. Didn't have the language. I just knew everything in me was gray. You came over with ginger tea and playlists. You told me I wasn't a failure. And then one day you were gone. Maya closed her eyes. I left a note. I know, Caleb said, and the whole room leaned forward. I read it every night for a month. It said, I can't stay where I'm learning to disappear. I didn't understand. All I knew was I lost the shape of the one person who saw me clearly. He sat. He looked older. The candles looked cruel. Mom reached for him. Baby. Maya swallowed. I'm sorry. Caleb nodded. Me too. And then the real question surfaced, coiled and ready. When did you and my brother start? He asked, eyes on me now. I stared at my plate like a map I couldn't read. The room had become a courtroom, the table a long bench. Every sound was amplified, the ticking clock, the hum of the fridge, the wind fingering the kitchen window. 2 years after, I said carefully. Maya and I met at a book fair. We didn't know. You didn't know, Caleb repeated, a little louder. How do you not know? Because we weren't close then, I said, and it hurt to admit. You were traveling for work. We were on our own islands. Maya tried to reach for him with her voice. Caleb, I didn't plan this. I didn't even want to date for a long time. Your brother and I, we were friends first. She looked at me, then back. I didn't connect you two. You and I used nicknames when we met. I knew you as CJ. Caleb's jaw flexed. And him as Jay. Maya nodded. When I learned, I told Jordan. He told me to tell you. I hesitated. Layla cut in softly. Why? Because I was ashamed, Maya said. I left without asking if you were safe. I left to save myself and didn't know how to say that aloud. And then, when I loved your brother, it felt like I had stolen a house I once rented. Dad exhaled a long, tired breath. We can work through this. Can we? Caleb asked. Or are we going to pretend the past is recycled plastic? Mom stood. When Evelyn Carter stands, the room listens. She walked to the sideboard, opened the drawer, and pulled out the faded leather journal Grandma Ruth kept the last year of her life. Mom set it in the center of the table like a relic. Your grandmother wrote this when the truth sat too heavy in her bones, Mom said. When your Uncle Lionel broke your Aunt Dell's heart, she wrote every day until the truth made room for breath again. She looked from Caleb to me to Maya. This house is built on truth. Not on comfort. Not on performance. But on truth paired with grace. Mom turned to Maya. I like you. I liked you the moment you handed me your coat without being asked and went to help fix the salad. But liking is a breeze. Love is weather. So tell us the hardest thing. Maya nodded, tears riding the rims of her eyes. I left Caleb because he scared me, she said, voice steady, small. Not because he hurt me physically, he didn't. But because when he was depressed, he looked at me like a parachute. Like I was the only thing between him and the fall. I was 24 and carrying my father's illness and a full-time job and 1,000 unpaid bills. I couldn't be the sky. I broke under the weight of being somebody's single source of light. The room inhaled grief like oxygen. Caleb's eyes softened, then tightened again. I didn't know. I know, Maya said. And I should have stayed long enough to say that out loud. I should have said, you need more than love. You need help. I didn't have the language. So I wrote a note and ran. Caleb's throat worked. Dad rubbed his temples. Layla brushed tears away. Ariel took Caleb's hand. The candles shrunk and grew like they were breathing with us. After dinner plates gathered like witness statements, Dad sent everyone into the living room. The TV remained off. The walls held us close. I sat across from Caleb, the space between us a decade of choices. I should have told you sooner, I started. Caleb nodded. Yes. I thought I was protecting you. No, he shook his head. You were protecting yourself. From me. From this conversation. He exhaled. From being the villain in your own story. I flinched. You think I'm the villain? I think you're my brother. Caleb's voice cracked. And I think you didn't trust me enough to believe I could stand in the same room with my past and not fall apart. I swallowed it whole because it was true. I loved her, he said, then corrected himself, tender and clean. Or I loved who I was with her. I loved the idea that someone saw through the fog. But she wasn't the fog. The fog was in me. He stared at the photo of us as kids on the mantel. 2 boys in matching church suits, one tie crooked, one grin missing a tooth. You didn't steal her from me. But you stole my right to prepare. I'm sorry, I said, voice bare. I know. He leaned back. And I'm sorry I turned the table into a stage. We sat with it. The room felt less like a verdict and more like a slow untying. In the kitchen, the women formed a quiet circle. Layla slicing fruit, Ariel sealing leftovers, Mom wiping what didn't exist. Maya stood at the sink like it could absorb her shame with the water. Layla nudged her. You breathe, I'll talk, she said, smiling. I've known Caleb my whole life. He loves like a flood, overwhelming, beautiful, sometimes reckless. When the river rises, you can drown trying to be a bridge. I'm sorry you carried that. Maya's face folded. I should have done better. Sure, Ariel said, honest and kind. We all could have. I dated Caleb after the flood. He knew therapy by then. He knew how to say, I'm sad. Instead of making sadness a room he locked us both in. The man you left and the man I'm marrying, they're related, but they're not the same. Mom ran a towel over a clean glass. I left your granddaddy once, she said quietly. Robert chased me to the bus station with tulips and asked me to teach him how to fight for me without wounding me in the fight. We learned. We keep learning. I want a family that practices. Practicing love like scales on a piano. Over and over until the music lives in your hands. Maya's tears fell into the sink like small baptisms. She sighed. I love your son, she said to Mom. And I don't want my past to poison our table. Mom put the glass aside and embraced her. Then we drained the poison together. Later, with dessert unthreatening in its sweetness, Dad told a story. When I was a young man, he began, I had a friend named Vince. Tall, loud, wore a leather jacket even in July. He fell in love 3 times in 1 year. Each time, he swore it was forever. Each time, he never told the next woman about the last until the past introduced itself at the grocery store. Dad chuckled, then sobered. I promised myself then I'd never let silence choose for me. He turned to me. Son, I'm proud of the man you're becoming. But pride doesn't excuse the silence. It explains it. You don't like conflict. You make peace like it's a profession. Sometimes peace is truth with a rough voice. He looked at Caleb. I'm proud of you too. Therapy, growth, grit. But pride doesn't excuse grenades. It explains them. You don't like surprises. You protect your story like a family heirloom. Sometimes protection is listening with your hands open. He glanced at Maya. And I see you, child. I see the courage it took to love again. Dad lifted his glass. To doing better in the next chapter than we did in the last. We drank. No toast had ever tasted like both medicine and cake at the same time. After dishes and hugs that still had questions in them, I walked Maya to the car. The air outside was a cool cotton sheet against the city's warm skin. Beyond the hedges, a neighbor's wind chimes told us the truth could be noisy and still sound like music. I should have told him sooner, I said. Maya nodded. I should have told him then. We both ran different races to the same mistake. She traced a circle on the fogging passenger window with her finger. Do you still want to marry me? I looked at her like an answer. I asked you because I wanted all of you, even the chapters you hide in small fonts. She smiled, a tired, fierce thing. Then let's write the next one in bold. We stood there and watched our breath make ghosts. I tucked her hair behind her ear like a promise. She tucked her chin into my chest like a prayer. Somewhere inside, I heard my parents laugh with Layla and Andre and Ariel, braided voices, bruised and blooming. Tomorrow, I said, I'll meet Caleb for breakfast. And I'll write him a letter, she said. Not a note. A letter that stays. We kissed the kind of kiss that doesn't need witnesses. The porch light clicked off automatically at midnight, but the night didn't go dark. We carried the light. The next morning, Caleb and I met at Ruby's on Auburn, our old favorite, the kind of place where the waitress calls you sweetheart like a spell. He ordered pancakes. I ordered the same. When the plates came, butter sliding like summer, he took a breath. I read her message. She texted you? A letter, actually, he said, tapping his phone. Pages. Hard pages. The kind where someone hands you back yourself with honesty. I waited. She said she's sorry she left me without naming the storm. She said I deserved clarity. She said she couldn't be a raft, but she could pray I found the riverbank. He sipped his coffee. I cried at the counter like some old movie. I grinned. Careful. You're allowed. He cut into his pancakes. I'm buying her a wedding gift. Caleb. He waved a fork. Slow down. I didn't say I'm walking you down the aisle. I'm saying, I'm choosing not to be the villain in your story either. He exhaled. I love Ariel. I'm building something. I don't want to tether my future to being the man someone left. I want to be the man someone stays with. We ate. The syrup did the forgiving I couldn't conjure alone. Thank you, I said. For trying. He shrugged. We practice, remember? Weeks passed. Wedding planning is just logistics wrapped in dreams. Pinterest boards, playlists, cake tastings that feel like tithing to sugar. Maya and I sat with swatches of sage and charcoal. Layla volunteered as coordinator with a clipboard she wielded like a wand. Ariel offered to help with flowers. Mom handled the guest list with restraint that surprised us all. Dad said he'd pay for the band if they learned lovely day. We chose a small venue near the Beltline where I'd proposed. The mural under the bridge had changed. New colors, new faces, but the echo of our promise lingered in the paint. One evening, as we folded invitations at our dining table, Maya paused. Do you ever think about how many lives live inside one city? How many versions of us walk around, making choices, some that healed us and some that hurt us? I held her hand. I think about how the right ones found this version. She smiled. I needed you to say that. We addressed an envelope to Mr. and Mrs. Caleb Carter and paused. She swallowed. I nodded. We placed the stamp like a blessing. Rehearsal night felt like a dress rehearsal for forgiveness. Caleb, in a navy suit, escorted Ariel to the front and practiced his vows for their own wedding a month later. Layla practiced a reading from a poem Maya loved, Lucille Clifton bending light into shape. Andre made a joke that loosened everyone's shoulders. Mom cried preemptively and then laughed at herself for crying. During a break, Caleb approached Maya. I got you something, he said, handing her a small box. Her eyes darted to me. I nodded. Inside was a tiny silver compass pendant on a delicate chain. Not romantic. Not aggressively symbolic. Just kind. When I was lost, he said, I thought you were north. You weren't. You were a traveler, too. This is not a nudge. It's a thank you for surviving. And a promise I'll find my own way. Maya's eyes filled. Thank you, she whispered, voice breaking in a way that healed. She hugged him, careful, just long enough to make a new memory to place on top of the old. Ariel looped her arm through his. We're going to be okay, she told Maya, and somehow it felt addressed to all of us. The sky over Atlanta woke up soft, like it had watched us prepare and wanted to be gentle. Maya's dress was simple, silk that slid like water. My suit was charcoal with a tie that matched the sage of the bridesmaids' dresses. Grandma Ruth's journal sat on a small table at the front, tied with a cream ribbon, like a blessing. Dad walked Maya down the aisle halfway and stepped aside. Mom walked with her the rest of the way, beaming like a lighthouse. When Maya reached me, her hands trembled. Mine did too. We laughed at our own bodies telling the truth. The officiant asked if anyone had objections. The room held its breath and then exhaled when no one stood. Caleb smiled, a real one. Ariel squeezed his hand. Layla winked at me like we stole something back from the dark. We said vows we'd written in the quiet, promises about ordinary days, about loading the dishwasher without counting, about naming storms, about not making each other parachutes or prisons. We promised to be students of one another. We said, I do, and the words felt like, I will, and I am braided together. We kissed. Applause erupted. The band struck up Lovely Day, and Dad danced like debts were canceled and time took notes. At the reception, under string lights, with plates of jerk chicken and plantains and kale salad that somehow delighted my aunties, Caleb took the mic. The room hushed. I braced. To my brother, he began. People think love is fire. Sometimes, love is architecture. He turned to me. You build slow. You build strong. You picked the right person to build with. He faced Maya. And to Maya, who taught me that leaving can be a kind of honesty and staying can be a kind of courage. He swallowed. I bless what we were because it brought us here. Mom cried again. Layla cheered. Ariel raised her glass and mouthed, Good man. I felt my chest loosen, like a door opening to a porch where the future waited with sweet tea. Maya took the mic, eyes shimmering. To families who practice, she said. Who don't pretend the past is a stranger but don't let it drive the car. To the Carters, the house that made me brave enough to tell the truth. We clinked. The music went up. Aunt Denise took over the dance floor with a line dance that required a lesson. Even Grandma Ruth's best friend, Miss Etta, shuffled with a half-step that made the teenagers scream. Long after the cake was cut and the bouquet tossed, Layla dodged, Ariel caught, laughing. We all pretended it wasn't a prophecy. The night settled into the soft part. People left with leftovers wrapped in foil swans. Confetti stuck to shoes. The venue staff hummed like a closing hymn. I found Caleb sitting on the low wall near the mural. The paint smelled new. Somewhere a cyclist rang a bell through the dark. I sat beside him. "You did good, big bro. You too." He rubbed his palms together. "Ariel and I picked a date." I grinned. "Let me guess. Not the same day as the Super Bowl." He laughed. "I learn." We looked out at the city. The skyline blinked like it knew every secret and kept them tenderly. "I never wanted to be a headline in your story," he said quietly. "I wanted to be a chapter where the protagonist figures something out." "You are," I said. "You will be. I'm still figuring it out too." We bumped shoulders. Two boys still, in some ways, carrying the weight of all the rooms we'd grown inside. A week later, Maya and I sat on the floor of our apartment surrounded by wedding gifts. Blender. Towels so soft they felt like apologies. A framed map of the Beltline. An envelope with handwriting we recognized, Caleb's. He had written us a letter. Inside, to the architects, "May your house be built with rooms for arguments, laughter, silence, music, prayer, and dancing in socks on Tuesday mornings. May your windows face whatever light you have. May your door be open, but your boundaries be strong enough to hold shape." We cried. We placed the letter beside Grandma Ruth's journal on our bookshelf, like two elders telling us which way to go. Maya leaned her head on my shoulder. "We did something hard," she said. "We'll do more hard things," I replied. The city outside was a song again. Somewhere a siren, somewhere a saxophone. We were part of the band. Life after a wedding is not a montage. It is a practice. The first time Maya and I argued about who left the spoon in the sink, we stopped, laughed, and named the storm. Miscommunication over minor metal. The first time a bill surprised us, we made tea, sat at the table, and treated it like a puzzle we were smart enough to solve. On Sundays, we visited my parents, who now watched us like a show they never wanted to end. On Tuesdays, Maya read me poems. On Fridays, we danced in socks. One night in bed, the room dim as a secret, Maya said, "Sometimes I remember the girl I was when I ran." She took my hand. I'm not her anymore, but I hold her hand in the dark. I squeezed back. Sometimes I remember the boy I was when I kept peace instead of truth. I tell him courage is a muscle, and we're in the gym. We drifted to sleep with our old selves tucked in, too. No longer ghosts, just guests who didn't overstay. Months later, at Caleb and Ariel's wedding, we sat in the front row. The vows sounded like they'd been carved slowly, the way you work a piece of wood until it becomes a bowl. Layla wiped tears. Mom and Dad held hands like teenagers who had grown old responsibly. After the ceremony, Caleb pulled us into a hug that fit 3 hearts. "We're good," he asked, but it wasn't a question. It was a ritual. "We're good," Maya said, grinning, her compass pendant catching the sun. He stepped back. "Then let's go live something we don't have to get over." We walked into the reception, where the band tried and failed to resist Lovely Day. We danced, hard. We laughed at Aunt Denise insisting on another line dance. We watched our parents glide like time had decided to be kind. We carried Grandma Ruth in our pockets. We carried the night of the dinner like a stone we had polished smooth, no sharp edges left to cut. This is what family is, after all, architecture and music, the practice of truth with grace. It's learning to say the thing before it becomes a storm, and staying when the rain starts, and trusting that every house built with honesty can hold whatever weather comes. And if you ask me about that dinner now, I'll tell you the truth. It was the night everything turned. Not toward disaster, but toward the kind of love that can survive its own reflection. It was the night my brother told the truth out loud and didn't break. The night my wife admitted her fear and stayed. The night my parents set an altar out of plates and candles and asked us all to be brave. We ate. We cried. We told the whole story. And then, like people who believe in the future, we passed the cornbread. We made room. We practiced. We began.